Okay, let's try this again. Had some technical issues. Internet connection wasn't going to work. So let's try here over again. So my question for you today for our Facebook Live is, are you judging others? The verse is Romans 14, verse 3. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. It's very easy to find ourselves judging others, especially with regard to what they eat or drink or don't eat or drink. Personally, I've looked at what people eat and cringe, and I'm sure you have as well. It is also true we tend to think of everyone should be eating the same way we are. Have you tried paleo, keto, intermittent fasting? Fill in the blank. Vegan. The list is endless. You can't be someone else's conscience as much as you want to. We have to leave that to the Holy Spirit. Yes, if someone asks you what you eat or why you eat the way you do, be prepared to give an answer. Tell them why you have found it helpful, but leave the conviction to the Holy Spirit. All right, our recipe for today is a coconut cheese artichoke dip. And so we're actually blending this in a food processor, and we're using half of a batch of coconut cream. Get a spoon here. I only need part of this. Now, you make batches of coconut cream, which I have videos on here about that, but you basically make that using a can of coconut cream and about a tablespoon of lemon. Mix it together, and then you put it in a strainer with inside of a non-bleached coffee filter. And then you put that over a bowl and let it set and drain for basically about 36 hours. And then you can refrigerate or do whatever you want to with it. So now, got a can of Artichoke Hearts, which I'm going to want to drain the liquid out of. Figured it was time for a dip recipe. You could use it for your Super Bowl party or for anything else. I'm not into sports, but I know there are those of you that are. And I want all the liquid out of this. As much as possible. I don't need a bunch of liquid in here. Okay. Wedged in here a little bit. Just getting these in the food processor with everything else. And then we're going to add some olive oil. I'm just going to use it out of my spray bottle of olive oil. Basically, you're using that tablespoon. I'm not trying to use massive amounts, that's why I just used out the spray bottle. And about a teaspoon of lime juice. Give or take. And I already have a sprig of fresh parsley in here. And about a teaspoon of basil, which you could use fresh or dried. If you're using fresh, you would use a little bit more. Usually if you're using fresh, you don't use quite as much. You use a little bit more than you would if it's dried. Dried is a little more concentrated. And just a little sprinkle of that. I do have Celtic Sea Salt. I don't use massive amounts of salt usually. So then it's just a matter of, and you can add some other spices if you prefer. I do not handle a lot of different spices, so I'm going to steer clear of those, and let me go ahead and blend this. Looking pretty good. You can, of course, shove down what's on the sides a little bit to blend it in just a bit more, but it's actually looking pretty good. Just use the spoon here. Shove it down in just a bit, but one more quick. Blended pretty smooth, so I think we're good. All right, and hopefully you can kind of see that a little bit. So there is your dip, and I will personally eat this with veggies. You can have this with chips, but remember, no mindless eating. Make sure you know that you're actually eating at the time that you're eating it. Then you will be far less likely to OD on it. So anyway, that is our recipe for this week. I will post this in the comment feed so you can replicate that. And I will be back next week for another verse and another recipe. See you then.